Guys, today at work, some of the girls were talking about stories that had happened to them at previous jobs that they worked. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to look up some stories from work that people have had. And today we got some crazy work time stories. I hope you enjoy.
So today I'm going to talk about things I've seen at the corner that was just crazy to me. So the first thing that I've seen that was crazy to me was it was this lady that was involved in a drive-by shooting and she got shot, but she was like 8 months pregnant.
Ooh.
And so when we do the autopsies on, pregnant women that we know are pregnant, we trying to not, we make it the Y incision, but we're trying to not cut through the baby that's in there. So when she was opened up for examination, we got the baby out and the baby was shot right in the center of its head. And that
Wow.
tripped me out. Another one that I saw that I thought was crazy was, do you guys know what zip ties is, first of all? So if you
Yes.
don't know what a zip tie is, go look it up online and then you're going to be like, oh, because you should know what a zip tie is. So anyways, they have them in different sizes, zip ties. This man took like one of the extra large, biggest zip ties you could take. And in public view, he put that zip tie on his neck and pulled it the tightest he can pull it and basically hung himself standing there in public view. And you can't take zip ties off by just loosening it up. You got to cut it off. So it was like really thick. So it was just, he did it where all these people could see him do it, and I went to the scene and had to pick him up from public view.
God, that sounds like something you'd see on a movie, right? Where somebody does that to like, I don't know, on a horror flick or something. That sounds traumatic. Holy cow.
That was crazy to me, using a zip tie to kill himself. People will figure out anything. If they really want to go, they gonna figure it out. Another
Yeah.
one I thought was crazy was there was an accident on a freeway, and the person driving the car in the accident ended up in the freeway sign.
Oh,
So
wow.
the fire department had to get him out the sign. That was crazy to me. You're in an accident and you fly so high up that you end up stuck in the freeway sign.
They
Yeah,
are
no.
pretty high
Another
up.
one I had to go to, this was my call. They said that the man was in the palm tree. So I get to the scene and I'm driving in the neighborhood and there's only like one palm tree in this neighborhood. So I know while I'm driving up there, I'm like, that's where the scene is right there, where that palm tree is. You know how tall those trees are. I get to the scene, the man is still up in a tree. He was the one going up in the tree to cut. Palm trees get like this big bush around the bottom of them that shouldn't be there, because if you leave them there too long, rats and stuff will start going up in there trying to live up in there. So people try to, trim that down, but you shouldn't wait so long that it gets so big up there. So anyway, the man went up there to trim that bush down off the palm tree, and the whole bush on the palm tree ended up falling down on top of him and
Wow.
suffocating him in the tree. And he wouldn't fall down out the tree because he had those hooks on his boots that make you stay up, that help you climb up and help you stay up in the tree. So he up in the
It's
tree, bent back, all the way back with the weight of all that bush and stuff all on top of him.
that is nuts. Whenever you look up at the top of those palm trees, not all of them, but some of them, they are so up there. They get so tall. That would be a horrible way to pass. Oh my goodness.
Story time of my crazy stories from the ER. I figured I'd just make a series about this because stuff like this happens all the time in the ER, and I literally can't make this shit up. So, on this particular day, we were super busy, so my charge nurse decided to have me, a midshifter, open hallways and take patients in the hallways. So, where I was taking patients, there was a room and then a hallway right in front of it. So there was a special needs adult patient in the room right behind one of my hallway beds.
Okay.
We left the door open so we could keep an eye on him because he had already been giving us some problems. But during this time, I was getting a new EMS, so an EMS brought me a new patient. So the EMS is bringing me a new patient, and she's screaming as soon as she comes in, and I'm like, so this patient was a part of our high alert program. So what that means is she has a history of trying to seek narcotics from the hospital. What the doctor can give her is very limited because of that reason.
So there's a woman there that has an addiction. She's in pain. She's going to want narcotics, but you can't give her any. And then in the next room, there's somebody with special needs. This sounds like it's going to be great.
So she comes into the ER and she's like, "My legs are swollen." She keeps screaming over and over again. And there's a patient that can hear her with the door open right behind her. So he just starts mocking her. Well, I don't think it was intentionally mocking, but he was like, "Her legs are swollen." Then she'd be like, "My knees are swollen." And he'd be like, "Somebody help her. Her knees are swollen." And she was like, "I'm bow-legged." And he was like, "She's bow-legged." And at this point, the patient is starting to feel like stupid because like she thinks he's mocking her, but really she doesn't know like that he's just special needs. And I'm trying so hard to not laugh. I go up to my friend and I'm like, "Hey, like go walk past my room. Like this is happening between my two patients and it's the funniest thing." So my friend goes and walks by and then she comes back up to me and she's like, "Alyssa, why did you tell me to go walk past that room?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she was like, "That man is pounding his meat right now in front of the whole
no.
ER." And I was like, "What?" So I walk over there and this adult man, 6 foot, like 350 pounds, is just
Oh, wow.
with the door wide open in front of the entire ER. And so my friend gets on the walkie and is like, "Hey, whoever has room 9, that patient is beating his meat in front of the entire ER." And so the poor nurse
Could you imagine hearing that over the walkie-talkie? Oh my
is
gosh.
like, "Oh my gosh, I'll go talk to him." So she goes and talks to him and he stops. And everything is cool for a while until he starts doing it again. And this boy is pounding that shit. So at this point, we decided to call security. Security comes in, walks up to the patient, and is like, "Sir, is there a reason you're doing what you're doing right now?" The patient stops and just looks at him and is like, terrified for his life. So a little bit later on, we had a really sick patient that we had to do CPR through the lobby all the way through the whole ER and take to a trauma room, which that's a whole nother story. But the lady that was on the high alert program, she sees everything happen to this patient and we ran a code on him. We did a lot of work on this patient and he did end up passing. Anyways, so later on in the day, I get orders to discharge this patient. And at this point, I had only given her like ibuprofen, Toradol, no narcotics. So I
No
figured
narcotics.
she'd be pretty upset if I discharged her with no pain medications. So I go up to the patient and I'm like, "Okay, ma'am, like you're gonna be discharged today with some 800 milligram ibuprofen." And I was so worried she was gonna cause a big scene. This lady sits up in her bed and is like, "Oh, yep, I am ready to go." And I was like, "Okay, awesome, yeah." Immediately, she starts thanking me for what we do. She's like, "This is the real deal." Like,
You think she noticed that person getting the chest compressions from CPR, and maybe she said, "Oh my goodness, that could be me," and she ends up being cool. That's a really nice one.
I cannot believe what I just saw, and you guys do so much. And I was like, period. And just based off of the fact of how much pain she came in with, I was like, "Let me get you a wheelchair and we can get you out." She's like, "Oh, no, 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 no. I can walk. I can walk." This lady gets up and walks herself out of the ER. As far as bow-legged, she was right, because the gap was like, I guess she had been through enough that day with us, and she was just ready to go.
This lady is bow-legged and ready to go. Sometimes people need to see somebody lose their life to realize how precious life is. And you know what else is precious? Watching videos with you guys. Hit subscribe. Come back tomorrow. We'll do it again. Have a great night.